There's no question that there has been a history of institutional racism in this country.
Those videos speak for themselves. Adam, during his last second of life, did not have a gun in his hand. The officer screamed at him, "Show me your hands." Adam complied, turned around. His hands were empty when he was shot in the chest at the hands of the officer.
If indeed he did toss it, do you know yet if the officer had enough time to process that, or do you still need to also?
I don't know if the officer had enough time or not. All I know is that the officer is trained to not shoot an unarmed individual, not shoot an unarmed child.
It is 100% justified. That officer's actions were actually heroic. There's a very good reason why he only shot once. Like I said, he could have been shot multiple times, but the officer assessed in a split second. Unfortunately, he committed to the first shot already, justifiably so.
What is the family wanting to see happen as far as the police department and possibly even the courts are concerned?
The avenues that we're taking legally will be disclosed at a later time, but they want justice for their family. They want reform. They want enhanced training for police officers. Obviously, this officer prematurely pointed the trigger at that young man.
Is the president going to remove an African-American woman with decades of experience in the Foreign Service, who's widely respected around the world, from her position as ambassador to the UN? He is not.
Thanks, Jen. The U.S. ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, talking to a group on Wednesday, essentially said that white supremacy is woven into our founding documents and principles. Now, this statement is getting widely criticized as essentially parroting Chinese Communist Party talking points. So, is the president going to remove her from her position as the representative before that body to promote United States values?
Is the president going to remove an African-American woman with decades of experience in the Foreign Service, who's widely respected around the world, from her position as ambassador to the UN? He is not. He is proud to have her in that position. She is not only qualified, he believes she is exactly the right person in that role at this moment in time. I have not seen her comments. I will say that there's no question that there has been a history of institutional racism in this country, and that doesn't require the UN ambassador to confirm that.
Essentially the same lecture, though, that the Chinese delegation gave Secretary Blinken in Alaska last month. So does the president think our founding documents are racist?
I would say that I will leave my comments to speak for themselves, and certainly I think most people recognize the history of systemic racism in our country, and she was speaking to that.
This is satire?
Absolutely, Senator.
Well, maybe there's a misprint, but I'm sure you can clear it up for me. Dating back to your days when in school, when you seemed to argue that African Americans were genetically superior to Caucasians. Is that correct?
No, Senator, that I believe you're referring to an op-ed that I wrote at the age of 19 about the bell curve theory, a racist book that equated DNA with genetics and race. As a Black student at Harvard that time, we took grave offense to this book. It was co-authored by a Harvard professor. We did a number of events to speak out against the book, and this op-ed opened with a satirical reference to the statement that you just noted. Contemporaneous reporting by the campus paper made very clear that this was not a view that I espoused. What I was seeking to do was to hold up a mirror and put one racist theory alongside another to challenge people as to why we were unwilling to wholly reject the racist theory that defined the bell curve book.
So this is satire?
Absolutely, Senator.
And where was that published?
In the student paper, the Harvard Crimson, and there's contemporaneous reporting from that time, from that day, that makes clear that these were not views that I espoused, Senator. If I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, we will turn the page on hate and close the door on discrimination by enforcing our federal civil rights laws.
Tucker has got to go. The ADL is the oldest anti-hate organization in the world. But what we saw happen last week really represented a new low. When he went on the air and essentially introduced what's known as the Great Replacement Theory.
The left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true.
The Great Replacement Theory, or sometimes it's known as the White Replacement Theory, it's this idea as it's propounded today that there are a secret group of Jewish people who are manipulating events and seeking to overrun the United States with immigrants who might be Muslim or Mexican or Black people as part of a concerted effort to commit what they call white genocide. Obviously, it's absurd, it's fiction, but it's dangerous. Proponents of this idea have been responsible for some of the worst extremist-related violence that we've seen in recent years, from the attack at the synagogue in Pittsburgh, where 11 people were killed in 2018, to the attack in El Paso, Texas, where 23 Latinos were gunned down in the parking lot of a Walmart, to the attack in Christchurch, where 51 Muslim worshipers were murdered at two mosques by someone, again, propounding this theory. And I think all of us have seen the clips, what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
This all comes out of this toxic conspiracy theory. And that's why we're so shaken up to see Tucker Carlson defending it. So what we're saying here is it's actually time for someone to be replaced, and that's Tucker Carlson.
On the most basic level, it's a voting rights question.
Look, a tried and true tactic of white supremacists and extremists is what we call plausible deniability. They say that, oh no, but I didn't really mean it. They put it out there, but they do it in such a way that's sufficiently obtuse so that they think they can avoid, accountability.
I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the, white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question.
Individuals like Tucker Carlson essentially launder this kind of intolerance and suggest they're legitimate political ideas.
The left says we have a moral obligation to admit the world's poor, even if it makes our own country more like Tijuana is now, which is to say poorer and dirtier and more divided. If you're wondering why so many people are being robbed, raped, and killed in American cities right now, George Soros is part of the reason for that. Maybe we're importing people from places whose values are simply antithetical to ours. White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax, just like the Russia hoax.
I think what makes this moment different is the country has just had enough and realized that we need to adopt a zero tolerance policy on intolerance, especially when it's coming from people in positions of authority who, again, don't just launder this kind of hate, they legitimize it. I don't think we can afford to look away any longer.
My wife and I were sitting at the far side of the house.
We stay up late.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden somebody came and pounded, like, pound, 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 like on the door. I said, Larry, don't open that door. So we came out into the foyer and we were like, what do you want? I mean, because we were scared. And so we went out on the porch, and by the time we got out on the porch, it was engulfed in flames. We had Biden, Harris in the front, and then we had American flag on the side with unity over division. My husband took the paint and he outlined it all, and then my daughter's husband and my daughter came over and they started painting, and it was fine till people realized what they were painting. Yeah. Then it started, and we got, like I said, we got positive and negative.
Traffic goes by here all the time. People, giving us thumbs up and beeping.
They beep all hours of the day. I mean, even in the evening when it's dark out, they would go by and beep, and we'd sit in the living room and be like, even though they couldn't hear us or anything. But it was really supportive, and it was really encouraging. I was a little worried when he first did it, but we believe that you should be able to say what your beliefs are, and I think you really should stand up and support, and sometimes it takes just
No matter what happens, yeah.
just standing up for what you believe in. I know policy-wise, we disagree on things, but as far as love and unity, I would hope that would be for both sides and for everybody.
No matter whether you have a Republican view or an independent view or a
Right.
Democratic view.
Yeah,
We can all socialize together, but when it comes down to it, it'd be nice to be able to compromise. If somebody has another view and they can have a peaceful protest, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Instead of taking violence and stuff into it.
The very next day, Malcolm Kenyatta had called us, and they were talking about wanting to set up a GoFundMe page for us. So someone in his campaign set it up, and then she turned it over to my daughter, and it just took off. We were overwhelmed. I mean, there were lots of times when we would get a card in the mail that had money in it, or even just, positive thoughts, and we would just sit and cry. I mean, it was just overwhelming.
Heartwarming, yeah.
We weren't necessarily going to write Biden-Harris on it again. We thought about maybe putting a message of love and unity, that kind of thing. We need to all learn to live together, no matter what our views are. We're all people. In the end, we're all just people. I just wish we could all get along, and that you don't have to worry when you say what you believe and support, that somebody might come and burn your barn down. I think that we all should be able to just say what we believe and still love each other.